Hello out there, guys. How are you guys doing? Welcome back to Rule of Two Review, and today I'm finally back on camera, and we're going to talk a little bit more E3. So this is pretty exciting because I get to do one of my favorite kinds of videos, which is a list video, especially when we're building up to E3. I just freaking love this stuff, man. This is like so much fun to me, just along with my Q&A videos, which are probably my favorite videos to do. Right behind that would be list videos, because for some weird reason, it's just always fun to put stuff in a list. I don't really know what's up with the human brain and why we just love that. It's like candy to us, at least to most people, and definitely to me. If I can put things in an order and talk about why I like them in that order, it's just the best. And today, of course, is a special day because as of the day of this recording, it is officially exactly 2 weeks until the first real day of E3. 14 days from Tuesday the 12th, which is the first official day of E3. Of course, Sunday and Monday have been kind of adopted as unofficial days of E3, especially more and more the last 2 years. There's, you know, Microsoft is doing something like on Sunday, EA does their stuff leading up to the week, and it's just really crazy how that's happening. But it's cool because it just means more days of like technical E3 that isn't really E3. Anywho, hey, what I'm doing today is, like I said, another E3 list, and what I want to talk about are the 6 games that we already know about that I am most excited to see or hopefully learn more about at E3. What I'm calling the top 6 confirmed games of E3 2017. So quickly before I start the list, what this means is basically some title that has been officially revealed and that we know actually exists. Of course, there are some games that are hinted at, there are some that are rumored, there's some games that aren't officially revealed or even talked about. That's why the last list that I made, I discussed the 6 surprise games that I want to see revealed, because at that time, a lot of those games, all of those games I should say, had not yet been revealed or discussed. The whole idea was games that we didn't know anything about that I hope to see surprise revealed at the show. This is games that we officially have heard talked about, so it's not surprise games, it's not mystery games. It's games that, some of them we may even have almost no shot of actually hearing more about them at the show, but nonetheless they are real, actual, quantifiable games that do exist and that I want to hear more about. And the first game of today's list, coming in at number 6, is going to be God of War 4, or what we can assume will be God of War Part 4. It might have some other sort of weird subtitle because they're doing something so crazy different with it. But I have no problem telling you guys, God of War is one of my favorite non-Nintendo series. It's one of my favorite gaming series. I mean, that first handful of games, they're pretty straightforward in the fact that it's just this really awesome action kind of combat that was created for that game with this crazy, angry, godlike character just going through and just beating the crap out of everything in front of him, and just kind of just doing that. And it's really the fact that it gets so involved with like the Greek god mythology, which I think is really fantastic. And to bring in this sort of really violent, you know, overly mature sort of element into that and have this character that's really pretty one-dimensional. I mean, I love Kratos to death, but he ain't that deep, let's be real. He's just not that deep of a character. But that's almost why I love him. I feel like the games have always sort of embraced the ridiculous nature of it's so violent and crazy and he just destroys everything in his path. And the fact that he isn't that multi-dimensional, sorry, and he really is just this angry dude who does have a cross to bear. He's got a vendetta that he is seeking vengeance for, at least he was in that first trilogy of games, and that's all it is. And honestly, I've kind of loved the fact, some of my favorite moments in that series are where in different or less capable hands, someone might have pleaded to Kratos for help or to spare him or have mercy or whatever, or tries to reason with him from an evil angle, and Kratos is just not having it. At any given moment, he's like, I don't care what you have to say. How about I rip your face off and shove your eyes up your butt? Like, that's just the crazy things he does, and it's so ridiculous that I just love it. And the new direction for God of War, I'm very curious. It could be one of the greatest things they've ever done. It could be a huge mistake. I'm not going to lie. I'm actually a little bit worried. I'm mostly excited, but I'm a little bit worried it's going to feel too not God of War-like. But I always welcome change. I always want people to try something new. There's been times where it's worked very well in the past for other series. So I'm happy to give God of War a shot, but the fact that it's so mysterious in what this game will really feel like and play like is part of why I'm so excited to learn more about it. Coming in at number 5 is going to be Xenoblade Chronicles 2, because obviously I love me some Xenoblade. I'm probably one of the few people that you guys might know who actually prefers Xenoblade Chronicles on the Wii to Xenoblade Chronicles X on the Wii U, but make no mistake, I think they're both fantastic. I love Xenoblade Chronicles X. It had a weird barrier of complication to me that just kind of prevented me from getting as deep into it and invested in it as I did with the first Xenoblade Chronicles. I probably put in almost 100 hours in the first Xenoblade Chronicles before completing it. And Xenoblade Chronicles X, I did not complete it, but I probably put in somewhere between like 50 and 60, 65 hours, something like that, which is a lot of time, especially for me who's super busy in real life and also games on all of my consoles regularly. So it's not like I'm just devoted usually to any one console. Regardless, they're both so good. And Xenoblade Chronicles 2 was an awesome surprise to see revealed in January for the Switch. I don't think a lot of us, even diehard Xenoblade fans like myself, could have ever even seen that coming, at least so early in the Switch's life and at that January event. I have discussed in the past, and I'm sticking to this until I have that game in my hand. I believe that in North America, it's going to be delayed past 2017. I don't expect to see that game released this year. At least, again, like I said, in North America, Japan or Europe could be a different thing. But regardless, I'm really excited for that game. I like that it harkens back to Xenoblade Chronicles and not X. I hope that it's tied into Shulk and Ryan and all these different people somehow. It's got a very different art style. The character models are more traditional anime character type of art style, which is a little bit weird, and I like that in other games. It was a little bit weird to see it in a Xenoblade game, but I just still like what they're doing overall, and honestly, I don't really care what they make them look like. If it's a new Xenoblade game, I'm excited. And I just want to understand more of how this game is a sequel to Xenoblade Chronicles, what it's going to play like, how big the worlds are going to be, and this is going to be so good on our Switch. And I would love to even be surprised and see that it is coming out, at least as of right now, slated for this year for North America, even though I don't really expect that. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's Xenoblade, it's a brand new Switch game, it's a huge epic open world game. Bring it on. I cannot wait. Coming in at number 4 is a game that might not surprise you guys. It will be controversial, but I don't care. This is my list on my YouTube channel, and I'm sticking to it. For me, it's Destiny 2. And I know we just got a whole bunch of info and the whole blowout and gameplay reveal and some of the basic details of the new structure of the game last week or 2 weeks ago or whatever that was from Bungie, which was great. I did enjoy that. There's some things I'm questionable about, but overall I enjoyed it. But I want more. I want to understand some of the finer nuances. I want to get an idea of what this first raid is going to be like. I want to understand if there's ever going to be a plan for a new class. I was very disappointed to see only these same 3 classes, as of right now, announced for at least the vanilla launch of Destiny 2 later this year. I have a sneaking suspicion that at E3, if they decide to take more time and show us more of this game, which I expect to see probably on Sony's stage at their press conference, that might be a time where they can reveal a couple of new surprises that they've kept from us, such as a new class or 2. I think at least one new class should launch with the game, and maybe another class down the road with some DLC or expansions, and that would be fine for me. But I also just want to understand some more of what's happening with that game. I'm really excited for all new planets. I'm excited to spend more time on Earth in some different sections. Very strange to discover it's an exact sequel story-wise to the first game. I kind of thought it might be a whole brand new adventure and a whole new aesthetic and new characters and all this. They're going a different route in that respect than what I expected. But that's also, again, when that stuff happens, whether it's what I wanted or expected or not, the fact that they're doing something different is what makes me even more curious to learn more about it. So, I'm a Destiny fan, man. Haters be damned. I love the first Destiny. Very excited for Destiny 2, and that is why it's number 4. Now, at number 3, we're getting to the really, really good stuff. I am so crazy excited for this one. And for myself, number 3 is Star Wars Battlefront 2, because I am the biggest Star Wars fan in the world. A lot of you may or may not know, but my girlfriend and I did attend a Star Wars celebration all the way across the country in Orlando, Florida, just last month, just like 5 or 6 weeks ago. I'm so sad and depressed when I realize I'm not there anymore. It was the absolute greatest week of my entire life. So they did so many amazing things. One of the things we got to do was attend EA's Battlefront 2 live panel. We were there in the room when they revealed the game officially, showed off all the cool stuff, talked about the new elements like single-player content and prequel content, making it into multiplayer, and all these cool things that they're doing with this game. So excited. They also showed us, everyone in the room, they didn't stream this online, but they showed us a behind-the-scenes making of video that was like 10 minutes long or something too, which was really cool to see live in person. They have confirmed they're going to have a bigger official reveal of more gameplay and multiplayer stuff at E3. Can't wait, you guys. Star Wars is my favorite thing. It's my favorite thing beyond Nintendo and video games and even Metroid and all these things. My #1 nerd thing is Star Wars, just for myself. That's just who I am. All my tattoos, by the way, you guys might not know this. This is all Star Wars stuff. And I just think there was so much potential with EA's first Battlefront to hopefully live up to what the first 2 LucasArts Battlefront games were. And I've talked about this. I do like that game. There was a lot of good in that game, but it's not what it should have been. There was a lot of things they did wrong with it, obviously. And what's great about Battlefront 2 right now, as it seems, if EA delivers on their promises, it seems like the game that, like I've called in the past, is a good faith game, where I think they're showing we're listening, we care about what you want, we understand the value, we understand you want prequel content, you want new sequel era stuff in there as well, you want single player, you want a story, you want space battles, you want all this stuff. You're going to want to go to Camino and fight with clones? You can do it. Like, these are the things we wanted, and they're giving us all that, it seems. And they're giving us classes again. I just think the combat is going to be so freaking good. Oh my god. So, I don't know what to say. I'm a big Star Wars dork. I think that the first game had a lot of room for improvement, and I want to see at E3 that EA is truly improving in all the missed opportunities with their first Battlefront game. And coming in at #2 is a game that will need no introduction. I know it's going to freak a lot of people out. Everyone's going to lose their minds at the fact that I'm putting this at #2 and not #1. But as I said, my list, my YouTube channel, so you got to deal with it. And make no mistake, it's #2 for a reason. And that is Super Mario Odyssey for the Nintendo Switch. I am so ready for a brand new Mario game, and a new Mario game that looks as amazing as Mario Odyssey looks. We've only seen, officially from Nintendo, that amazing trailer that they revealed in January, obviously the highlight of the show, except for the Joy-Con stuff. That actually got me really excited. But as far as games, obviously that was the highlight of the show. And we all are we're still reeling from, you know, the amazing experience that was Breath of the Wild, what is arguably maybe the greatest game of all time. I'm not quite yet ready to say that, but it's definitely, I've said this before, it's definitely for myself in the conversation of the top 2 or 3. But regardless, it's blown everyone away. It's so good, and as I've said a couple of times, to me, I like that. I feel like I understand who Nintendo is right now. The Nintendo behind the Switch and the Nintendo that developed Breath of the Wild is an amazing Nintendo. It's my favorite kind of Nintendo. It's a Nintendo that was absolutely willing to kick the doors down and say, we're here to kick some ass. We want to make the best games possible in the entire industry. And that's the precedent set with Breath of the Wild, which is one of, you know, Zelda being one of their biggest franchises of all time. The other one would be Mario, and Mario Odyssey, based on the couple of minutes they've shown us, is going to be the Breath of the Wild equivalent for the Mario series. I mean, I think it's going to be that good. I want to see if the same Nintendo that shattered our expectations with Breath of the Wild is the same Nintendo making Mario Odyssey. And for myself, you know, having played through all of the 3D Marios over the last decades, starting with, even going back to the 16-bit days, but of course starting with Mario 64 in 96, and then all the way through Sunshine and the Galaxy games and 3D World, I mean, they've just knocked it out of the park every time. I don't care for the new Super Mario Brothers stuff, but that's just me. All the 3D stuff and then the 16 and 8-bit stuff before it, amazing. And I feel like Odyssey is going to be just something special, man. I really believe in where Nintendo's head is at right now in terms of their game development, which is also what makes me excited for Metroid, which I don't expect to see this year. But when we see Metroid, I'm expecting the same things from that. But right now, it's Mario Odyssey that is directly in our sights. That's what's right ahead of us. And I think that they're going to give it so much attention at E3. I expect it to be almost what they did with Breath of the Wild last year. Obviously, it's going to be different because we can hopefully believe that they're going to be showing us a wider swath of games, whereas last year, they treated Breath of the Wild almost as the only game they had there. And this year, we expect other things, so it's probably not going to be just the Mario Odyssey show, which is good. I want everything from Nintendo. But I do think that we're going to get a significant, overwhelming amount of Mario Odyssey goodness. And it's going to be amazing. I really want to understand if that game is how big it is in scope. I want it to be bigger than like what Sunshine and 64 were. The Galaxy games, it's not the same because that was so segmented into specific levels. But I liked how Sunshine and 64 operated on a hub world, and we can expect that from this game as well. They've basically said that. So I want to see how big of a world this Mario Odyssey game is going to give us. And, you know, bring on New Donk City, man. I'm ready for weird human beings. Like, I am just so ready. So anyway, for all these reasons and more that you guys obviously already know, Mario Odyssey is going to be amazing, and it is my number 2 most anticipated confirmed game for E3. Okay, and so now I have to talk about my number 1 game, and I'm sure a lot of you guys are thinking, oh my god, what could it possibly be? If it's not Mario Odyssey, you know, what could it possibly be that Rob is more excited for? And if you know me well enough, you might already know this. And for myself, you guys, I know I'm a Nintendo fan and a mostly Nintendo channel, but I gotta be real and I have to be true to who I am. And for me, it is The Last of Us Part 2. And that's a tricky one because I even laid this out in my theories and big bets about E3 and Sony's conference. I don't expect to actually learn a whole lot, if anything, about The Last of Us Part 2. I actually think it might be not even there, and they might be addressing it next year or the year after. But it is a game that is confirmed. Sony's told us it's real. They've given us a revealed trailer. And so it still qualifies as a confirmed, announced, revealed game that we know exists and is being made and will be released in the future. Therefore, it counts as a game to be eligible for this list, even though I don't believe we're going to see it. And I also am hoping to be wrong with that big bet, and I would love for Sony to spend frickin' 10 hours talking about The Last of Us 2. Obviously, don't spoil it, but that's what I want. And you might be wondering, why is The Last of Us Part 2 higher than Mario Odyssey when I'm such a big Nintendo fan? And honestly, Mario has made some of my favorite games of all time. There's definitely 1 or 2 that would, you know, make it into my top 10 of all time, I would think. But The Last of Us, honestly, I like more than any Mario game I've ever played, you know, and it may be controversial. Nintendo fans might hate me for saying that, but you know what? We're all different. We all have fluid and unique opinions and perspectives on the world. And even as a diehard Nintendo fan, way more than a Sony or a Naughty Dog fan, the first Last of Us game to me spoke to me in a way, and I loved it that much. And to have a sequel, and to see Joel and Ellie in this game, although there are, you know, rumors and speculations about what Joel's part is going to be, and I'm excited to learn what that's going to be. Regardless, he was in the trailer. No matter what version of him we may or may not see, he was there. And Ellie's in this game. She's probably the star of the show. Where does their story pick up after the events of The Last of Us and that amazing ending that I loved so much because it kicked my heart in the ass so hard? It's like, oh my god, I just can't wait to see. I think The Last of Us was an amazing achievement, and I think Naughty Dog is an incredible studio. I love what those guys do. Part of the reason as a Nintendo fan I love what they do, guys, if this is a little bit of perspective to maybe shed some light, why does a Nintendo fan, or why would a Nintendo fan love a company like Naughty Dog so much? And there's obvious reasons. I mean, they make great games. Sure, they make great games. But for me, it's also that they do something so completely polar opposite from what Nintendo does, typically. And the games that the Uncharted and The Last of Us of the world is so on the different spectrum of my favorite Nintendo games. Zelda, Metroid, Mario, Star Fox, all of these different things. That's why I like it. Because I get all the Nintendo stuff I need out of Nintendo's games. But what about all the other stuff in the world? What about the stuff that's not like Nintendo? What about the guys that can't do what Nintendo does? Well, Naughty Dog does what Naughty Dog does. And I love what Naughty Dog does because it is so different from Nintendo and vice versa. So that's kind of the more, I don't know, mature, more elegant perspective I'm trying to put on this whole thing. Not like I want to sit here and just defend why I'm more excited for this than Mario. But that is why. I mean, honestly, those are the reasons. I think the first game is incredible. I love those characters. I love the performances. I loved what that game was. And I believe The Last of Us 2 could be even better. Probably not. Sometimes it's hard to capture that lightning in a bottle twice, and it's either going to be The Empire Strikes Back of this series, or it's going to be something that's not as good as the original. That's still okay regardless. I love The Last of Us. I'm so excited for The Last of Us Part 2. I love what Naughty Dog does, as I've said a couple times. And so that's why, again, I know it's controversial and everyone's going to hate me for saying it, but that's why it's my number 1 game. All right, there you go, guys. A pretty interesting list, if I do say so myself. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this, hearing me talking about the 6 games I am the most excited to hopefully learn about at E3. We may learn a lot of information about all of these. We may learn little information about all of these, or none of these, or who even knows. But regardless, all 6 of these titles are games that have officially been announced and revealed. We know they exist. We know that they all have different levels of chances of showing up at E3 and having us all get a lot more information about them. I cannot wait. Very excited. E3 is going to be great. There was some honorable mentions I had, but I didn't want to bloat this video any more than it already is. You know, 2 weeks away. Let's see what happens at E3. Mario's going to be amazing. Battlefront's going to be amazing. Are we going to get The Last of Us or God of War? Who even knows? But that is literally the mystery and the fun of E3, is trying to predict and figure out how it's all going to play out. So that's my list of 6 games. Talk about the list below. Talk about how much you hate me for putting Mario at number 2. And share your thoughts about the games and the games you are most excited to see at E3 just 2 weeks from now. Oh my gosh, guys, so exciting. Thanks, of course, as always, for tuning in. This is Rob of Live to Review, and I will catch you next time on another video.